Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wyld. Today we are talking about guide to tax season for gig workers. Tax season has a lot of mixed feelings behind it, especially for gig workers. Some people prefer not to worry about it until later. Some people are so worried about it that they won't even become a gig worker or self-employed for that matter. And some prefer to just leave it to professionals and not think about it. Today we're going over a guide on getting you on the right track in terms of getting your taxes right as a gig worker. So in this video, we are talking about a guide to getting started with tax season as a gig worker, how to properly prepare yourself as a gig worker, and everything in between. But before we do that, let's go over a quick disclaimer. The content of this video does not contain and is never intended to be legal, business, financial, tax, or health advice of any kind. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is advised that you conduct your own research and consult qualified professionals before applying anything you find online. I also want to be clear that everything that we're going over is not simply market dependent, although it is, but it's also very case by case. And what applies to me and my personal life and my market may not apply to you. Also, thank you to GigTax for verifying this information and making this video possible. Establishing your tax foundation. In my experience, there are a few things that are 100% necessary in order to properly set up yourself for business success as a gig worker, or really anybody who is deciding to go on a self-employed journey in terms of taxes. A mileage and expense tracking app or some kind of software, a business entity, an understanding of business deductions, a full evaluation of your position, and a tax professional. Mileage and expense tracking apps and or software. So one of the most overlooked things that gig workers should 100% invest in is some kind of mileage and expense tracking app or software. Tracking your miles is going to be essential whether you use the standard mileage deduction or the actual expense method. I know there are some people who would prefer a more tactile approach with a notebook or keeping track of it manually. I would think the simplicity would be most effective here, especially since they can keep track of the miles driven automatically and can link your bank account to track the expenses that you can write off. Also, you might want to make sure that your tracker can take pictures of your receipts. I like QuickBooks for this, but if you only need a mileage tracker and not an expense tracker because you like to have an accountant handle everything, I would look into Mile IQ, until a better product or software comes out. Business entity. Most gig workers are operating as a sole proprietorship, and while this may be fine for those who are treating the gig economy as a side hustle or a hobby, for those of you who are doing this full-time or even going to expand into higher paying opportunities, you might want to set up a business entity. Now, whatever business entity you should choose should be based on whatever goals you have in mind. For some, an LLC is fine because they aren't reaching super high numbers, and if they do end up getting to that point, they can elect to file as an S Corp. If you're reaching those solid high numbers already, you might want to get started as an S Corp, but that's something you should discuss with a tax professional. We'll get into that later. That said, a C Corp is almost never going to be the move for gig workers specifically, but depending on how you scale and grow, that might end up being the case in the future. An understanding on business deductions. There are a series of deductions that are not going to be seen immediately from the side of software and receipts that should be monitored. As we stated, your mileage is going to be important, and every year it has a different value. Home offices are often overlooked by gig workers, especially for those who are driving a lot and have no exit strategy in the first place. But if you establish this correctly, you could take a home office deduction. During the first year of owning a vehicle in your business, most people would take the standard mileage deduction as opposed to the actual expense method, because you could switch between them if need be, but if you start with the actual expense method, you're locked into it. All of this and so much more is explained in my Financial Fridays playlist, by the way. I know I dropped a bunch of terms that you almost feel a need to Google after or even during the portions of this video. So feel free to use the playlist as well for your knowledge, as it is curated for gig workers and self-employed individuals. a full evaluation of your position. Most people just assume they are a gig worker and don't realize how many opportunities to deduct and to earn are actually available to them. We already talked about deductions, but what about tax credits? They may not apply to everyone, but they can apply to you. What about tax exemptions? What do you qualify for? You would be surprised at how many opportunities you have available to you in terms of being able to reduce your tax liability. Do you have kids? Are you married? Does your state provide any exemptions for homeowners? How much equipment did you buy for your business? Do you have a business phone plan or even multiple phones? All of this matters, and all of it can be a deduction if applied correctly. Consider partnering with professionals. Of course, you should absolutely consult with a qualified tax professional. Make sure you are doing this all right, all properly, and the last thing you want to do is pay too much into the IRS or pay too little and risk yourself an audit. It is vital to make sure that you are capitalizing on all of the best opportunities for yourself, whether that means you are passing it off to a CPA or working with a tax preparation service or a consultant to make sure you are staying on track. That said, you also don't want to overspend on tax professionals either. What's the point on saving money on taxes if the money you saved is spent on a CPA or a tax preparer that charges per 1099? Luckily, this is where GigTax will be here to help. As somebody who has ventured into self-employment via food delivery apps and gig platforms, the income is promising. That said, you are also faced with challenges in navigating taxes as a self-employed person while transforming your gig into a sustainable business. GigTax was founded by Joseph Mayo, a seasoned gig worker with 7,000 deliveries across 7 platforms since 2020, and they understand the challenges of freelancers, rideshare drivers, couriers, online sellers, and gig workers of all kinds. Their #1 online tax preparation service is designed to help you maximize your tax savings and save you time, energy, and money. Electronic filing, state filing, year-round direct access to tax professionals and financial partners, client app and portal, audit support. All of this is absolutely free and incredibly valued benefits when filing with GigTax. GigTax has also been working on transitioning their tax services to better help you keep more money in your pocket as you go out, earn more, and access greater opportunities. Book your strategy session today at gigtaxservice.com/drivenwyld. Enter the code WYLD, all lowercase, to access your special offering, and let GigTax help you educate and support you on your tax journey, whether you're a gig worker looking to make some extra money or becoming a successful entrepreneur leading an incredible lifestyle. Check the link in the description and get started with saving the money you made and making even more along the way. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time.